Welcome to a new episode of B&B Movie Reviews. This week, Alison Brie crashes a wedding, a first-time filmmaker tackles parental neglect, and Julianne Moore gets caught up in a new con in a new neo-noir thriller. Stay right there. B&B is up next.
Like I wasn't gonna say anything. No, but seriously, what a wonderful thing for us all to be here. Family, friends, some of whom we haven't seen in a very long time. And I just feel grateful. So thank you to the bride and groom for giving us a reason to celebrate. Everyone, raise your glass to Sean and Cassidy.
Cheers! 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 Bring it in. Hey, yes. Very good. Cheers. Learn it.
Allie returns to her hometown and runs into her longtime ex, Sean. She assumes that sparks have been reignited when she learns the ugly truth that Sean is engaged to be married in Dave Franco's second directorial effort in Somebody I Used to Know. So, Brad.
Yes.
Dave Franco, he directed his first film was a horror film, The Rental. So he's coming back now with a romantic comedy that he co-wrote with his wife, Alison Brie, who's the star of this movie as well. The new creative power couple in Hollywood.
I love it.
So it looks like he's doing his best, My Best Friend Wedding movie.
They name check it in the film.
Yeah.
I mean, this is sort of a lift off of that idea. Alison Brie is fantastic in the role. I really like this era of her career right now. Yeah. She is doing some really killer work with the screenplays that she's been doing. I like Spin Me Around that came out last year. And, you know, I think that once you get past the lift of My Best Friend's Wedding, it's a fine movie. It's a lot of fun.
It is. I actually really like this a lot. The one thing that I like, the cast, Alison Brie is great in it. Jay Ellis, I'm a huge fan of his previous work from the show Insecure. I'm a huge fan of Insecure with Issa Rae.
I'm pretty sure we're reviewing this movie, Brian, because you like Insecure so much. I think Jay Ellis is what brought this to the B&B show.
Maybe. Still, I'm curious about Dave Franco. You know, it's interesting because I'm curious because Dave Franco, it only being his second film and his first film being a horror movie, and then he moves to romantic comedy, it really feels like that he's trying to stretch his creative muscle with doing a lot of different genres. Because a lot of times when you see directors, they'll start and then they kind of continue.
They find their lane.
They find their lane. But I was curious when I heard that he directed this. I'm like, okay, let me see how this plays out. It looks like he want to, tap his toe into different genres and be a little bit more creative, and I appreciate that. I love the setting of this movie. The Pacific Northwest, I think that lends a lot to the aesthetic of how this feels. I love the setting of that. I like how it looks at relationships not as a straight line because of the fact that relationships and love can be messy. And I like how it explores that and not too judgmental of the characters because of how they feel and how it motivates the decisions that they make because of how they feel.
A lesser film would have found some villains in this plot, and the movie never does that. It gives you enough for each character's perspective to understand where they're coming from and appreciate what they're trying to accomplish and understand their worries and their anxieties and their fears.
Yeah, it does. I think that part of one of the things I thought about this movie as far as maybe some criticisms that I may have had is that I feel like there are some conveniences that happened a little too easily. And I don't want to give too much away, but there's something like with Kiersey Clemons and her parents, and it feels like it kind of follows some specific plot lines that we are.
If there was a moment in this film that just utterly falls flat, it involves Kiersey Clemons' parents.
Okay.
There's a huge buildup to their absence, and they're like Chekhov's parents. They're coming, right?
Yeah.
And when they come, it's not the punch that I was expecting it to be, and there's no resolution. It just kind of is dropped there at the end of this film. And it does help kind of motivate where the rest of the relationship goes.
Yeah.
But I don't know if in a really satisfying way. And again, this is one of those movies where I thought it was going in one direction, and that direction that I thought it was going in was much more appealing to me. And I feel like there is an ending to this film that would have elevated all the characters.
Yeah.
And it doesn't quite do that. It delivers a fine romantic comedy ending, and that's great.
Yeah.
But it's not. It could have been even better, in my opinion.
I felt the same way about the ending. Something about the ending, because it felt like they were trying to kind of like push home this message about being your own self, and sometimes like part of me felt like it kind of fell apart. But overall, I really enjoyed everything. I love the cast. I love the aesthetic.
Dynamics are so good between those characters.
Yeah, the backdrop of where the setting is and then everything else. I think a lot of that stuff really works. What's your rating for this one?
I give it a B+.
Yeah, same for me. I give it a B+ as well. I think it's not being a fan of romantic comedies. This is one that definitely hit home, and I really enjoyed a lot of what they had to offer.
But it's streaming, and it's worth your stream.
Yes, it's streaming currently on Amazon. So definitely check that out. So those are our thoughts on Somebody I Used to Know. So when we return, we're going to take a look at the psychological thriller from a first-time director. Stay right there.
Here are AARP top tips on caregiver preparedness during coronavirus. Form a team that can help with caregiving tasks. Take an inventory of essential supplies in your loved one's home. Make a list of the care recipient's medications. Schedule regular calls to fight isolation. Finally, take care of yourself too. Follow the Centers for Disease Control's guidelines for coronavirus safety. For more caregiving tips, go to aarp.org/caregiving.
Wonderful morning, isn't it?
You're practically one of us.
Practically.
Thank you.
Rose. Morning, Miss Williams.
Are you all right?
I'm fine.
Mom, look out!
Nev is haunted by visions of her past when her meticulously crafted life of privilege starts to unravel in the new Netflix psychological thriller, The Strays. Brian.
Yes.
Feel very conflicted about this movie. I need you to help me work out my feelings.
You know what? It's interesting because, like, with this movie, it's called a psychological thriller, and it kind of, what am I trying to say? It kind of takes that angle in, I would say, the first act, where you see in that clip and in the trailer where it almost looks like she's seeing things. You don't know if she's really seeing them, and it's somebody following her.
What's the reality of this film?
Yeah, like, is it real? Is it not? And going into this movie, I was thinking, oh, this looks interesting. But then when you watch the movie and it slowly starts to reveal itself, it doesn't really play out the way you would think it's going to play out.
The structure is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
We get this opening where Nev flees a situation that looks pretty darn rough. And then we jumped to some point in the future where her life is going pretty well, but then she starts seeing these things.
Yeah.
And then that climaxes into a boiling point, And then the movie jumps back on itself.
And we get that title card, and then we see it from a not give too much away, but we see it from a different perspective, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I was engaged this whole film.
Yeah.
My question revolves around the morality of this screenplay.
Dude.
What is this film saying? What does this film think it's saying?
And that's the thing that I struggle with watching this movie, because I think it's definitely dealing with parental neglect and and a lot of stuff that's dealing with that, and it's
and her and gender. Like, her character calls it out. Like, if I was a man and I did this, it would not be that big of a deal. It happens all of the time.
Exactly.
So why is it now the focus of a movie?
And that aspect of it was interesting as well. And I think that they introduce a lot of interesting themes that I don't think they really delve into as deep as they can.
And in doing so, like, I think the focus shifts, and it's saying, like, what it does. This is a hard film to talk about because I do not want to spoil the statement of its title. And the characters that are involved with that title.
Yeah.
But what it says about them is really gross.
Dude, that was my issue with this movie, and it left me with a really, really off-putting feeling at the end of this movie. First of all, like, how it takes the characters that were, and I'm trying to talk around this, how it takes the characters that we're supposed to sympathize with and it villainizes them.
Demonizes them.
And I'm like, I don't know what the filmmakers are trying to say with that. And it seems like it seems distasteful.
Yeah, I hate it. That being said, the last shot of this movie, the last seconds of this film are so funny to me.
Oh, it's funny.
Hilarious in an awful way.
Okay.
But also in kind of a glorious way, in the sense that you need to watch this film to see the tenacity that the filmmakers have to leave the audience and the characters with that final moment.
Yeah, leave them in that moment.
I was cackling.
Because now that I'm thinking about it and we're talking about it, I guess it can be a little funny. But, I mean, darkly funny.
Well, pervertedly funny.
And maybe that was the intention of the filmmakers.
Oh, I think it was.
You think so?
But I don't think what was the intention was how we are left to view the strays of the characters.
And it goes to
the stray characters.
It goes to the first-time director, and I think it's part of that, because sometimes, and I look at it like this, with a first-time director, sometimes you never know if you're going to get a chance to make another movie. So a lot of times, they want to put everything.
It's all in this film.
It's like, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to get another shot at this, so let me just throw everything. Let me throw all these themes, all these aesthetics, let me throw all these ideas into this one movie, and it doesn't coalesce and kind of mesh well together, or I think it's maybe reading a little wrong.
But I
don't know.
never think the film is boring.
No.
And Ashley Badekwa as the lead character is lightning. She is so compelling to watch.
Yeah.
And I can understand why people walk out of this film going like, that is garbage. That was a waste of my time. I'm mad.
Yeah.
I wouldn't argue with any of that.
Yeah.
Again, I was riveted and I was aghast. And that sensation of like, what? made me kind of appreciate the film.
Really? Okay. I'm still trying to wrestle with that ending, and I don't know. So where do you fall on this one?
Look, this could be a bad movie. This could be an immoral movie. I got to give it a B+ because it was riveting.
I'm going the opposite way.
I won't fight you.
Yeah, this is a B- for me. Interesting ideas. I appreciate what the filmmaker was trying to go for. It just didn't land for me, and it made me feel a certain kind of way by the end of it.
It's on Netflix. Just watch it to the end, just so you can get the
See that
last shot.
Yeah, crazy. All right, so those are our thoughts on The Strays. Let us know what you think about that one. So when we get back, we'll take a look at the latest on Apple TV Plus with the newest Con. Stay right there.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Each year, there are more than a dozen significant tropical and winter storms that threaten the East Coast. So chances are there will be more hurricanes and blizzards near here again. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has all the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
You have to pay them off.
Told you that's not possible.
How much do they want?
$350,000. And they want it in 4 days, so short of robbing a bank, that's just not gonna happen.
I can give you the money.
What?
It's in the bank. I can just go make a withdrawal. You wouldn't have to rob it.
I don't understand. You live at home. You work in a bookstore.
No, I own a bookstore. How do you think I managed to keep it open? All that place does is lose money.
You're saying you have that money just sitting in a bank?
Yeah, more. Yeah, my father has money.
Sandra finds herself in deep trouble when her brother owes a large sum of money to individuals threatening their lives. Who can you trust in this new neo-noir con thriller streaming now on Apple TV+? Brian,
Yes.
Sharper. You love a con movie. Did you love this one?
You know what? I actually did. I actually enjoyed this movie a lot. And we talked about this in some of the other movies that we discussed in other episodes where it's about the hook, that opening act, the opening of a film. And the way that this movie starts off where you're focused on the character and it has like the title card of the character's name. And so we're watching their story. And then you see their story play out. And then it cuts and we see a new character name. And then we see that play again from their perspective.
Well, not quite, because it's not Rashomon, right?
It's not Rashomon.
You're not seeing the same scenes over and over again.
No.
The narrative timeline does progress with each title card.
Yeah, but when the title card changed, I was like, this is a different way to tell a con story that I haven't really seen before. And this is like, we talked about this off air one time. I told you that sometimes like when you're watching it, I was thinking like, okay, if they stick the landing with this could be a damn good movie.
Well, that's the problem with con movies, right? Because you know in a con film that there's the long con.
Yeah.
And you're anticipating what is the final reveal of Sharper. And so you're always one step ahead of the movie with the hope that the movie's actually one step ahead of you. And Sharper actually never is. So I don't know, like, you can tell me if this is the case for you, but I called the ending pretty early into the movie.
Better than me, because I don't think I caught the very end as far as, well, no. How soon did you catch it?
I caught it after the second title card. In the second con, because there are multiple cons going on.
So when we get to Sandra's story?
Sandra's story, yes. That's when I knew, I had a feeling of where this film was going.
Okay.
And did I know every little detail to the long con? No.
Okay.
But I knew the ultimate long con. Now, does that mean that I spoiled it for myself or that the film spoiled it for me? Not necessarily, because I agree with you. The whole ride was enjoyable.
Yeah, and the direction of this as well. Going just to the cinematography, like the way that they use, and I guess that goes, again, we talked about this in our last episode with Creed, where we talk about visual storytelling and visual metaphors. Like the way the cinematography uses reflection and mirrors to kind of show two sides of a person's character. It's a lot of fun the way the direction and the cinematography plays with the characterization of these characters.
And these are the actors you want in a con movie, right?
Yeah.
Julianne Moore,
Sebastian Stan,
John Lithgow. Like it's really, really well cast.
And the Justice Smith.
Smith is great. He steals the show.
He's really good. And I haven't really, outside of like what we saw, he had a Netflix show. I forget the show that he was.
I know you were a huge fan of Jurassic World. You were in love with that movie.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It.
No.
Oh, okay. I was mistaken.
That was me. That was someone else.
Read somebody else's letterbox.
But I do like him in this role, and I think he's he shows a lot of maturity that I've seen in his acting and just him as a performer. And
he's super watchable.
Very-
Everybody is very watchable in this movie.
And the actress who plays Sandy, she's a new actress on the scene, Brianna Middleton, I believe is her name. And I think she is going to be somebody to watch because she is really good in this movie as well.
She's incredible. She's incredible.
Yeah, so I didn't see the ending coming. I don't know. The ending does kind of fall apart because I love how everything kind of progresses and things start to get peeled back.
Well, it creates some questions about how certain things are financed and how do certain people know each other. And for the ending to work, there must be story that occurs way off screen
that we don't see.
And I don't know if I buy.
Oh, okay.
But it's even though I anticipated that reveal, it's a solid reveal. And again, the whole journey to that reveal was so worth it.
Yeah, I that's what I enjoyed. I enjoyed the journey. I enjoyed the filmmaking. The director of this was actually the guy who directed a couple of episodes of Andor. I believe he directed either the penultimate or the season finale of Andor. So I like, you could kind of see like the way he deals with character and bringing that to this Khan movie. I thought was really good in the way he was able to put all that together. What's your rating for this?
I'm going to give it a B+. It's on Apple.
Yeah.
If you've got Apple, you got to watch it.
It's worth watching.
And I think you'll be entertained by it. Like, does it rise to the great Khan movies? Not necessarily, but does everything need to be great? No, it could be just good.
It could be, yeah, and I'm good with that. So yeah, it's a B+ for me as well. I highly enjoyed watching this movie. So yeah, those are our thoughts on Sharper. When we get back, we got a new segment, a hot topic, a hot button issue that we'll be talking about. Stay right there.
Children are spending more time at home. Teachers, parents, neighbors, and friends, it's up to you to keep them safe. Now more than ever, it's important to stay connected. By phone, video chat, and social media. If you have concerns or see changes in a child, be there for them. Ask questions. Seek help. Report suspected child abuse or neglect.
Every 2 minutes, a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer. With your help, we can end breast cancer. We are all stronger together.
AMC Theaters is currently beta testing what they are calling the Sightline program across some of the major markets in the U.S., which is essentially using the stage, concert, and sports arena model of ticket pricing, where consumers would pay an additional charge for prime seating in the middle. A lot have weighed in and been critical of AMC for introducing this model into the theater-going experience. So yeah, so this is a new segment I want to talk about, just hot topics, things that are happening in the movie and film industry that are going on. So I think this is something that's kind of been a hot button issue for the last month or so. AMC is introducing this, what they call Sightline. They're beta testing it. Where they're doing surcharges of like $1 or $2 for prime seating in the middle.
Yeah, and so front row seating would be the cheap seats.
The cheap seats.
Way back, maybe hopefully cheap as well. And in the middle, you're going to be paying, $50 a seat or whatever.
Yeah, if it gets to that point.
I think Elijah Wood made the best argument against it. How cinemas have always been a democratic institution. Like, everyone can come into the movie house and have the same experience with this film in front of them. And the moment you start pushing out people for their financial level, it's going to feel pretty disgusting. And so it's hard not to be pretty enraged by the idea.
Yeah, because you're turning it into what I just talked about as far as like the concert stage and sports arena, where it's like if certain people can't afford, then yeah, you're going to have to be in the cheap seats to watch a movie. And then another thing I was thinking about was the whole vantage point of seeing something. Now, I could see implementing something like that for a concert or for or Broadway, where depending on where you
But
sit.
Broadway's been priced out, right? Like only rich people can go to Broadway. I've never gone to Broadway, Brian.
Neither have I. Neither have I.
And there's a reason why we haven't done it, because it's expensive.
Exactly.
And it's robbed us of the theatrical experience, the stage experience.
But with that experience, like, I don't see where changing the price of a seat depending on where you are, because I don't think it necessarily changes your viewing experience, because you're looking at something on a screen. It's not like it's something that's depth where you're looking at a concert.
Well, I mean,
or
I think
a
people
Broadway.
do have different experiences watching movies from different points, right? You know, not a lot of people like to sit up front with me. I love being in the second row. So I don't think I'm going to be that affected by it if this goes through, because I like having the screen be the only thing I see. But that's not the point.
But yeah, go ahead.
Well, the point is that it's pushing, it's radically altering the availability of seats for certain individuals, and I hate it.
Yeah.
That being said, the theatrical experience is in danger right now. These last few years have been brutal to the industry, and I can understand why they are trying to think outside of the box, although this doesn't feel outside of the box to me. First, how about you just make your theaters a better experience, period?
Exactly.
Change your bulbs and your projectors, right? Get people to actually watch the movie and not talk through the whole film. Get those iPhones out of people's hands. Hire more people to operate the building.
But you have to change the reputation of your theater chain. I mean, we've seen that with places like the Alamo Drafthouse, where they have that reputation of, like, when you come to an Alamo Drafthouse, you're coming there to watch the movie. You're not coming there to be on your phone. You're not coming there to talk to your friends.
And
AMC doesn't.
But they talk that game, right? They've got Nicole Kidman coming out and saying, like, heartbreak feels good in a place like this, where, every teenager in front of me has a big screen lit up like, the sun.
Are they enforcing that, though?
No.
Exactly.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
But again, variable pricing is not something new or that strange. We've had things where, like, certain movies cost a little bit cheaper than other movies, 3D films versus 2D films. We've had, Taco Tuesdays where the films are cheaper on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Like, they can play around with price structuring, but not. I think this is a bad idea.
No, I think it is too. And just going back as far as, like, where you sit, because I know sometimes for me when I'm in the theater, sometimes I like to sit on the end. So if certain people can't afford the seats in the middle, it's going to push people out to, like, some of those cheaper seats on the end.
If they can't enforce people from not talking in a theater or not bringing out their iPhones, how are they going to enforce people from not just hopping over to the prime seat when the film starts?
Yeah, exactly. And of course, even if the theater is not full, it's like you're trying to try this new idea of the upcharge, but it's like, again, how are you enforcing it?
But they've gotten such a negative reaction to this news already. I wouldn't be surprised by the time people are watching this episode of the B&B show that it doesn't exist. Like, I could see it being eradicated very easily.
Yeah, I think they're getting a lot of criticism from everybody, even people in Hollywood, actors, patrons like ourselves. I don't think, even though they are right now just beta testing this in some of their major markets, to me it just seems like it's just a bad idea, and I don't think they're going to end up going through with this.
I think it's interesting to have this conversation on an episode in which we have been reviewing nothing but streaming movies.
Yes.
There are not a lot of good reasons to leave your house right now. Who wants to leave their home when they've got a beautiful television that's probably as large as many of these screens in these movie theaters?
Exactly.
Exactly. So,
and AMC is not helping people to bring them back into the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make your theaters better experiences first, and then maybe consider this, but also don't consider this.
Not at all, not at all. So those are our thoughts on this new Sightline pricing. So to review the movies that we discussed today, remember this is on a scale of a B+ or B-, B+ being that we highly enjoyed the movie and recommend it, B- being that we don't recommend it and it could be
We
Pretty
are
bad.
the B&B show.
B&B show. So remember that. So with that, Somebody I Used to Know, we give that a B+ for both of us. The Strays, I believe we split on that. Brad gives that a B+. I give that a B-. And for Sharper, I think we both gave that a B+.
And we give this program a B-.
And a B, and a B- for the AMC program. So thank you for joining us on this latest episode of B&B Movie Reviews. Come be a part of the conversation. If you have questions, suggestions, feel free to email us at bnbmoviereviews@gmail.com. And with that, we'll see you at the movies.